Hello, welcome to Maverrik Live. I am your host Luke too, and today I'm joined by Martin Ellis.
Good afternoon.
Amazing. How was your bank holiday weekend?
It was pretty good, pretty good.
You up to much?
Well, we managed to sit in a few gardens now with a few friends, so that's nice.
I saw a countdown timer for what you can do with your friends. I think it was a beer timer. One of our team members, Jay, posted on Facebook, and it was like literally counting down to when you can have a beer with different people. So now you can have 8 people in the park. 8 or 6 outside in a park.
6, I think it is, isn't it?
It's 6. Okay, it's 6.
Yeah, it's 6.
And then it's beer gardens coming up next.
Yes, I've got a few. There's a few pubs I know that are opening up their beer gardens.
Do you have a favourite?
But they're getting quite booked because you seem to have to book.
It's book tables.
Book tables for them now because it's sort of. I think they're limiting the time so that they can get a few people through the door.
I was an occasional pub goer, so I wasn't too oh my god. Because I see some people like on Twitter and Facebook are going I can't wait for my pub to open because there's such a culture like going in, ordering your pint and chatting with your friends and stuff. I mean, it's not really the same as with a garden, but it's it's nice to just have that establishment.
Yeah, but we saw my parents and stuff as well, which is always good. I haven't seen them for a little while, so it's good that we can just sort of go and sit in their garden and do some bits and pieces.
I love to, obviously, when things are settling down, to actually travel back to Wales and see. I've got a nephew I haven't seen since like his birth, which I really need to go down and see.
Yeah, I've got nieces that have grown up, and I'm like the last time I saw them, babies, now wandering around and talking. And
I'll be pulling the whole last time I saw you, you were this tall, and now you're this tall. But this time it's like, last time I saw you, you didn't exist. So today we're talking about the key differences between the public and the private sector.
Yeah.
So first of all, we're going to just detail what a public sector, because I'll preference this by saying I know nothing.
Well, let's hope I do.
So I'm trying to learn.
I mean, I've dealt with both sides. We're talking about when we're trying to buy, sell to these organisations, really, I think is where we're looking at, really.
Yeah.
So the public sector, obviously it's all government-based. They're into lots of different areas, but it's all public service areas. So, but they get into sort of oil and all sorts of other things as well, other types of businesses. But it's mainly public sector services that they look after, and that you can sell into or look to sell into.
That'd be into sort of like landscaping and more of the general.
Well, yeah, you could have things like the land registry or valuation offices, or even sort of a lot of the local authorities. They look after, obviously, your little local authorities. They're cutting grass verges. They're doing all sorts of things. So there could be opportunities to get involved with them, but it's all government based. It's all backed by the government and sort of. That's where all the money is coming from. Is from that side of things. They're not for profit. They don't really they're not out there to make a lot of money. They've got other things that other targets that they have to achieve. That's different to the private.
Probably about the results and
they've got
throw the word ecology.
I mean, they get there's a lot of legislation in the public sector. Some of it comes down from central government, some of it comes down from the EU, some of it can come down from the world itself, if you like.
There's a hot topic of legislation currently, so we won't go into the whole is it right, is it wrong, what's happening, why are they governing us, why is this doing this?
They impose particular rules that people have to follow. So if you're looking at EU contracts, then the EU pose particular rules on those contracts.
So if you was going for a government contract, you need to understand that there are certain rules that they must follow as well as you must follow if you're ever working with them. Yeah,
so they're always going to be different things, which again will differ from the private sector. So with a public contract, it may well be that they're looking for the quality of the product needs to be really high on their agenda, or sustainability, environmental impacts.
Yeah,
they get all these things thrown at them, and as a business, you need to understand that you need to. Maybe have a little bit more compliance to work with them.
You need to show more your results, I'd say, because a lot of I'd say with the private sector, the results are we're earning you more business or more sales, and there's more money flowing towards you. Whereas in the public sector, it's more like, we've now created X amount of Y for you, and, something like that.
And it's the other thing with the public sector is it's a long-term sort of thing, really. A lot of them, some of these contracts can take years. They start talking in government, we need X, Y, Z, and then it slowly filters down. So it can take years. And unlike the private sector, it's difficult sometimes to build the relationships that you need to do. I mean, we're all about building relationships at Maverrik.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit trickier to do it with the private sector. It's not impossible. With the public sector. Yeah. It's not impossible, but it's a little bit trickier, and you just need to,
Yeah, because there's no preferential treatment with them. You can't have any of that. It's literally they set out probably a contract or a job that needs to be done, and then you go in and then you offer it and you sort of win that business. Whereas I guess in the private sector, it's more based on you're talking to an owner, you're talking to a sales director, you're talking to a purchaser. You want to get that, all moving.
There's different goals for the private sector. The public sector, they have to be very open and transparent through the whole process.
Yeah.
So if you're going through a tendering process with them, they have to show that they've followed and ticked all the boxes and followed all the rules, because at any point, if they get found out that they've not done what they're supposed to have done, all the people that are in there bidding for that contract could suddenly say, hang on a minute, that's not right. We need to start again, and it's expensive.
Can make a long process.
At the end of the day, if you get to the end, and because some of these contracts, it's expensive just to go through the process of tendering out for the
just
contract.
the time involved, probably, just to fill out the form itself. You're using a lot of manpower and brainpower to do that.
Yeah. So, they're very open and transparent. Whereas now, if we start looking at the private sector, completely different
Wild
animal.
West.
Completely different animal. So, I mean, obviously, the majority of private sector companies are owned by individuals or groups of people, or shareholders are involved. Their main aim is obviously to make money. That's what they look to do.
Yeah, a lot of businesses, I'm going to say, even if it isn't their key, goal to do that, it's still how they will, sustain and thrive and grow is through, obviously increasing revenue.
Yeah, yeah. So their targets, their goals are different to the public sector. Again, if you go and try and get some work through the private sector, the rules can be so much more different, and it could be that they do just give preferential treatment to people that they've built relationships with.
It's probably really handy having that knowledge of going in and having done it before yourself.
Yeah,
some of the hiccups that can happen, so you can kind of jump over the potholes.
Yeah,
because there'll probably be some maybe confusing wording or something you need which you can already bring to the table before having to, they ask for it. Because that's probably one of the main issues as well, isn't it? The communication back and forth, where you send out a form, and then they say, okay, you need this now. If you already give it to them, then you kind of, overstep the process.
Yeah, most of the processes are, a couple of stages anyway for a lot of with the public sector. But there's lots of things, and I think what happens is when you start to try and win work through that area, you start to build up this portfolio of the things that you need to get further.
So you think once you've won one, it's easier to win another one. You can
once you've got one, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
I mean, it might take you several to get to that point, but I mean, the idea is that you put your tender bid in, try as hard as you can, try and fill all the criteria, try and meet all the different areas and get look at the right scoring and make sure you put the right answers in there. If you're unsuccessful, they're pretty good at giving you feedback, which I guess, again, in the private sector, if you're unsuccessful, they're not going to spend any time giving you a reason why.
It's just like, what reason why? Oh, we just didn't want to. They can do that.
But with the public sector, they tend to give you some feedback. So it could be that you didn't have the right qualification in something, or certification in something, or you just didn't meet some certain criteria.
So would you say just because the private sector is a little bit more fluid and you can, obviously it's a lot more faster.
Yeah.
Is it worth going for the public sector if you kind of want to win business,
Well, of course, the advantage with the public sector is that, again, I mentioned it's government backed. You're guaranteed, if you've got that contract, you're guaranteed to get your money. The private sector, volatile, we've had lots of things going on.
They're chasing money and payments.
Yeah, and you could be chasing, they could be 90-day payers.
The rough, tough.
The public sector is so much better at that. So it's weighing up that the amount of work and effort that you have to put in to win a contract.
Yeah.
As opposed to, to getting that guaranteed money coming in the door, it's coming in the door.
So if you're a startup, or if you have obviously a small team, is it worth continuing for both channels, or should you just prioritize in one?
I think you've got to look at both channels. I think you can start small with the public sector. You don't have to. There's lots of lower value contracts.
Yeah, so you don't need to go straight for the 1 million.
So you don't need to go for that. I mean, they always sort of say start with something below 100,000.
Yeah.
I would say if you're a new startup, because the other thing that they like to look at for the bigger contracts is you've got to have normally a couple of years worth of accounts. So, where are you at that point?
Yeah.
But if it's smaller, there are some, under 25,000 sort of contracts. And a lot of those you don't have to do the full-blown tendering process. You can do quotations, which you're doing on a daily basis with the private sector anyway.
Yeah, the way I'm looking at it, it's more of one of those nice things to have, but you shouldn't base around your sole, business around just trying to win this public contract. And if you don't win it, you're like, well, that's my business.
Yeah. I think, there are lots of opportunities out there. They will do this. The great thing with the public sector is they do this thing called meet the buyer as well.
Yeah.
So actually, if you're looking to work with your local authority, you can speak to them. They actually do like to talk to suppliers. They're not going to favour it.
Shock horror.
They want to talk to suppliers because a lot of the time they don't know what's out there.
Yeah.
So they would rather talk to you and understand your products and your services. So you can speak to them, and then they have these open days where you can go along and meet them and just discuss what it is that you do, what you could offer, and then if anything comes up in the future, that you're more likely to be on their radar when you put something in.
Do you think we're going to see more contracts available now after the bizarro land we've just come out of?
It's tricky now. I think before, a couple of years back, we went into a little bit of austerity anyway, so the government was cutting back. I think now that they to get the economy going again, I think they put some money into it to get some contracts out there.
Yeah.
We still need all the things that we've always needed in the past. So, it's always going to be there. And hopefully they'll still invest into some of the bigger projects.
Brilliant. So would you say the key differences between public and private then is everything?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're two different processes, two different ways of trying to get work through those. And there's, and like we say, when we're looking to build those relationships, it's two different methods of building relationships. Really, it's but they're both achievable. They're both doable. And they're both really worth sort of going after, really.
Awesome. Thank you, Martin, for coming down.
That's right.
Thank you for watching Maverrik Live. If you need any more information regarding the public or private sector, you can always contact us and we will try our best to answer any of the queries you may have. But best thing to do is probably to head over to the government website, see what we've got available down there, and obviously they'll give you a lot of support, like you said.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So don't forget to subscribe and like if you enjoy Maverrik content, and we'll be back for next Maverrik Live.